My Amplified unit, what's up guys? BC Amplified coming at you on this Sunday afternoon with a little bit of bonus amplification, a special numbers video. That's right, if you don't like numbers, if you don't like ratings, talking about metrics, things like that, I totally understand. This is probably not going to be the video for you. If you're one of those people that say, why do you care about ratings? Well, because I'm a podcaster that talks about numbers, ratings, metrics, statistics, behind the scenes, what's going on, the things that Tony Khan and Vince McMahon would be interested in. That's what my channel is, and that's what I tell my audience. I totally understand if you're one of those people that just says, just enjoy wrestling, don't worry about numbers. I understand. I don't know why you would be clicking on podcasting videos anyway, or listening to podcasters that dissect pro wrestling, critique pro wrestling, talk about numbers. If you just enjoy wrestling and that's what you promote, just enjoy wrestling, then I don't know why you're not on WWE or AEW's YouTube pages and watching those videos nonstop, right? Go and enjoy wrestling. I don't know why you would be listening to podcasters. So I think you have a little bit of a conundrum that you have to figure out yourself. I think you should spend the rest of the day maybe doing that instead of complaining that people are talking about numbers. Again, this is interesting to a lot of people, and this channel breaks those numbers down, right? It's the reason that Tony Khan and Vince McMahon and so many others do a lot of the things that they do. It's the reason that advertisers are looking at the numbers first thing in the morning. It's the reason that Tony Khan thanks all of you guys for watching particular shows if the numbers are so high. It's the reason that your shows are even on the air, because advertisers want to be on that show because there's eyeballs there, or that advertisers pull their ads and then you're in trouble. It's the reason why your favorite shows get canceled. Numbers mean everything. And rather than leaving people in the dark and shocked that their show has been canceled, or that specific things are being done and they don't know why, channels like this inform people as to why decisions are being made from the networks or from the promoters. So that's why channels like this exist, and that's why BC breaks down the numbers. Again, if you don't like it, totally cool. Check you later, man. Go enjoy wrestling, man. This is not hurting anybody. It's always funny to see the people, leave paragraphs of why they don't like talking about ratings. It's like, A, why did you click on a fucking ratings video? B, why did you fucking listen to it? C, how did it get you that angry? Go enjoy wrestling. All right, so we're going to talk ratings here, guys. And we're going to break down AEW Dynamite on TBS for January 11th, 2023, a big show from Los Angeles. That's just what we're going to do, all right? Now, you're going to hear a lot of talk about a million, right? Oh, this magical number. Like, how did we come up with a million? And are you saying that if they don't hit a million, it's not a good show, BZ? That's not what we're saying at all. We didn't just come up with a magical number of a million. I've said this several times this week. Forgive me if I sound like a broken record. But for new subscribers or new people that came across the channel, this needs to be said. The number that numbers guys in this industry, like BC, the number we came up with was 1.2 as a bare minimum that they should be reaching, right? They started out hot at a 1.4 4 years ago. They've been doing this over 3 years, now into their fourth year. We know you're going to lose a little bit, but you want to stay steady and most weeks show some improvement, but it's going to be a roller coaster. So the number we came up with after breaking down all the numbers is a 1.2. What happened is Tony Khan cannot come near that 1.2. So we eventually had to move the goalpost a while back, and now the new bare minimum is 1 million. Not just because it sounds like a good number, it's a good whole number, right? 1 million viewers. No, it's because we had to move the goalpost from 1.2 to a 1.0. Problem with that is Tony Khan is still not hitting that 1 million. Now, luckily, thankfully, we're not at a point where we have to move the goalpost down to 9 or 800,000, because they're at least hitting that and getting near a million a lot of weeks. But when you hear the 1 million mark, it's not just a cute little number we came up with because it's a nice whole number. It's because we moved the goalpost, and that's what they, at least, man, should be hitting every week. And again, it should be a 1-2 with the roster that they have, the cable contract that they have, prime time every Wednesday, and what Tony Khan is willing to do and able to do on his cable show that even WWE is not able to do. And for some reason, they still cannot hit not even 1 million. So that's why we come up with that number. So you're going to hear that a little bit going through this breakdown. Now that's that jargon. Now what I want to show you is the actual breakdown, segment by segment, quarter by quarter, from Q1 all the way to Q8. BC is going to break this down, and it's much easier to break this down thanks to the fine folks at WrestleNomics. Brandon Thurston, WrestleNomics, they do a wonderful job of putting these diagrams together, and it just makes it a lot easier for people like BC to break this down. So I want to give a big shout out to WrestleNomics, Brandon Thurston. Makes it just so much easier, gives you something that you can actually see, and not just kind of visualize what BC is saying. So, what do you say we break this thing down? We're going to start at Q1. Now, again, this is a big night in Los Angeles for AEW. A lot of the big executives are there. You have the cable people all there. You have the AEW bigwigs there. You have some advertising bigwigs there. I mean, this is a big show for AEW. And on top of that, you have the big Sasha Banks Mercedes Moné tease. You have the Adam Cole return. You have a big championship main event. A big start to the show in Moxley and Page. I mean, they were really hoping that they weren't just going to get 1 million. They were going to catapult to a 1.2. That bare minimum, they were finally going to achieve it. Did they do that? Here we go. Quarter 1. You easily see. I'm going to put up the full diagram here, guys. The full night breakdown of AEW Dynamite January 11, 2023 from Q1 to Q8. And we're going to go on this roller coaster together starting in Q1. Jon Moxley versus Adam Page. This is through a PIP as well, which is picture-in-picture. So they didn't actually break away totally. So the audience was able to stick around throughout this. Now, you start big, literally, right? Big Bang Theory for a lot of homes is the lead-in to AEW Dynamite. So Big Bang Theory gets a pop rating, man, a big rating. So AEW is very fortunate that they get that lead-in, is what it's called. Now, the Q1 segment is very important. This is the Q, the Q that's probably just as important as the final Q, right? Q8. Because this is the quarter where you're going to make your audience make that tough decision. Do I put the remote control down and watch this show, right? That quarter 1, from the start of Dynamite, man, it's just as important as the finish of the show, which should be a cliffhanger. Q1, everybody's got that remote. Either the people that were watching Big Bang Theory or the people that are just switching through because it's a top of an hour. Their favorite show just got over. So they're flipping through the stations, and they need a reason. Some channel has to interest them enough to put that remote control down. Q1 is so important. I always tell wrestling show promoters the same thing, and I'll say it till the end of time. You have to start your show with a storyline that is going to captivate people, literally make them, force them put that remote control down. Don't even give them the option. Q1, right from the jump of a show, you need to start off huge. A story that hopefully, if you're doing it correctly, you can keep going back throughout the night in other quarters and revisit the story. Keep telling that story somehow. Add layers through it or to it throughout the night. And at the very end of the show, you should culminate that story in a big moment that catapults you toward the next pay-per-view. At the very least, to the next week, right? A story should be told beautifully throughout a night, lead you into the next week, and as follows to the pay-per-view. Unfortunately, and it's not just AEW that does this, WWE and so many promotions, they don't start off huge or big or captivating anymore. So we just start off, especially in AEW, just with a match, right? You start the show and it's right to the wrestling action, right? Now, some people will say, well, it's a wrestling show. I want to start off big with a wrestling match, BC. Well, that's fine. But a lot of weeks, most weeks actually, the ratings will tell you differently, right? People will tell you differently. It's not enough to make people put the remote down to see a match just out of nowhere. It doesn't matter, by the way, what layers were added. I mean, that the story from the jump, the story should be something that takes you through the roller coaster of the night, not just a match and that's it. And that's what Dynamite did this week yet again. Jon Moxley versus Adam Page. Now, we understand they've had some words the last several weeks. We understand this is Adam Page's return to wrestling in AEW. So there's story involved in it, but that's not enough to be the story throughout the night, right? In fact, when this was over, that was it. You didn't hear anything else about this. It was all about, is Sasha, Mercedes going to show up? It's all about the championship match at the end of the night. Adam Cole, baby, shows up, announces that he's back. It wasn't about Mox or Page. I mean, that was literally just the start of the show. It was not as big and as grand as we thought we were going to get for an LA kickoff. And the rating will show you that. You start with the Big Bang Theory and everybody flipping through the channels. They give AEW a chance, right? You're almost at a 1.1. You're at 1,087,000. Okay? Now you see instantly, as we go into Q2, it's the last 2 minutes of Moxley versus Page, by the way, is Q2. So, I mean, you would think the end of the match is going to garner the biggest rating, right? Of that match anyway, of Q1 and Q1. No, guys, instead, from Q1 to Q2, you lost 128,000 viewers, guys. And that is that's the end of the match, the last 2 minutes of Moxley and Page. So all of that match, the lead into the final 2 minutes, lost you 128,000 fans. A lot of people just did not care to start a 2-hour program with a wrestling match. And no real reason, if they didn't know that Mercedes might show up later, no real reason to tune in. You didn't hook them with a storyline. You just kind of fucking said, hey, here's a wrestling match. 128,000 fans. There's no reason that couldn't have been in Q2, And maybe even Adam Cole's return. You start the show off, right? Have a sentimental moment where fans had to put the remote down because, shit, they were up in their feelings. I would have, at least, at the bare minimum, switched Q1 and Q2. And that affects Adam Cole's promo, right? Because that should be a huge rating. But it was a slow start because the end of Q2 was Adam Cole's live promo. But because a lot of people didn't care about Moxley and Adam Page, it took a while for people to tune back into Cole's promo. And that's where you see Q3, where they went back up 69, 79, 89, approximately 34,000 viewers to Q3. That's where people kind of heard about Cole's live promo. By that point, guys, it was basically done, though. The promo was done, and people just heard about it on social, so you could see that they tuned in. And unfortunately, they missed Adam Cole's promo. And it was missed because people just didn't care about Q1, Mox and Page. I hope that makes sense. So what you do at the start of the show matters huge for the rest of the show. And you see that 128,000 viewer drop, even the 18 to 49 demo, which saw the 29, 39, 33,000 viewer drop. Or 23,000 viewer drop, I should say. And that's in the 18 to 49 demo. So still a few tens of thousands there, even in your core demo. Just were not invested in Moxley versus Page. And that greatly affected what the Adam Cole promo could have produced. So by the time people tuned in, this isn't actually horrible for Q3 because the Firm versus Jungle Hook was the match. So they wanted to see Adam Cole talk some more, but instead they got Firm Jungle Hook. Hey, any which way you get there, you got, at least you gain 69, 79, 89, 34,000 viewers, right? And it shows you that there's something there with Hook and Jungle Boy. And I said this several times, how they botched Jungle Boy 3 different times, where I thought he had a lot of momentum. Tony Khan totally pulled the rug from underneath his feet, smothered his momentum. And even when he was in a tag team in Champions with Luchasaurus, I never thought that Jungle Boy was actually being booked properly. Hook was on top of the world when he debuted. I felt that he was just regulated just the Friday night Rampage. And then when he finally got back to Dynamite, they just threw him in a tag team with Jungle Boy. It's been questionable booking for both, but together it looked like fans were semi-interested. But by the time they went to Q4, there was a 53,000 viewer drop. That was for MJF's promo on who he calls Take a Shita. Take a Shitta. 53,000 viewers were just not into that. It went into Danielson versus Take, and that match was slow to get a gathering. And that's with people now knowing that Hour 2 was going to produce, hopefully, what they were thinking, Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks. So people were coming in for Hour 2, which would have been Q5. But Q4 just started in a way where people were just not into the MJF Bryan Danielson shit. And that's sad because that should be their biggest story in AEW, right? It's the World Championship. It's MJF, who has been one of the highest draws in AEW since the start of the program. And it's sad that it's actually something that drove away 53,000 viewers. And it's not that shocking, though. If you listen to BC, it's because this is the same type of story we always see with MJF. So a lot of people just think it's played out, right? You have to go through every obstacle I put in front of you, and then you'll get a match with me. We've seen it with everybody, whether it's a CM Punk, a Wardlow, a Jungle Boy, a Danielson now. You guys can probably think of a few other names that we played this game where it's a crony every week, and then you'll get to me, right? So I think it's just played out. You know, I was okay with it if you added more layers to the story, but they didn't. And we saw this past Wednesday that this is literally just going to be Bryan Danielson has to defeat somebody every week, and then he'll finally get his hour-long Iron Man match with MJF. It does not intrigue BC, and MJF is my dude, man. When it comes to AEW, MJF checks off every box. When it comes to being a professional wrestler, and we all love Bryan Danielson. So it's sad to say that this is doing nothing for BC, and it's clear on a 53,000 viewer drop that it's just not. Now, Q5 is the beginning of Hour 2. Now, this is where we knew that the women's tag team match and the possible debut of Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks, was going to happen. So this saw 41,000 viewer increase. Right? That shows you the buzz that this motherfucking thing had, man, with Mercedes. So Danielson and Take end their match. I mean, people knew that it was coming up. It was advertised to be next. I mean, they even went through a Juice Robinson backstage promo, and it held consistent, guys. People did not go away. The only drop going into the women's tag match was 5,000 viewers. Q5 saw 981,000 viewership. And Q6, the women's match, Saraya and Toni Storm versus Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, only saw a 5,000 viewer decrease. Now, if you guys know anything about numbers, especially AEW, women's matches drop from 50 to 150,000 viewers consistently. This easily should have been around 850,000 viewers. Instead, it was at 976,000. One of the peak rated segments for a women's tag match in AEW. That shows you the interest that people had in seeing Mercedes Moné show up from all the teases. Even Tony Khan teasing it. And when he was asked about it, he would just grin and say, I can't talk about it. He knew she wasn't going to show up in LA. And it doesn't even matter if you guys think it was right or not, or it didn't make sense, or it should be at a pay-per-view. I think we all agree, but that's not what was teased. That's why people expected it, right? Because, I mean, all the cards were there for a big night in LA and a big debut. But it's not what happened. That is not at all what happened. And when we saw the end of the match and we saw Shida lose her kendo or throw the kendo stick in and then go, oh no, the heels got it. The match ends. And then all of a sudden we cut to the commentary team. Like, that was it. And then we that was the moment where we realized there was no Mercedes Moné, bro. And you see the drop. 83,000 1,000 viewers just said check you. And guys, there's a title main event about to take place, man. Death Triangle and the Elite is about to show up. And fans didn't even care. And unfortunately, in Q7, it was the boring promo between JAS and Ricky Starks and Action Andretti. Much respect to Andretti. Love Ricky Starks' development, especially over the last couple of months. And of course, we all love Chris Jericho. And then you got my boys in there, Daddy Magic and Sammy Guevara. I know that's not a popular statement, but I'm a big fan of Sammy Guevara and a huge fan of Daddy Magic. We all love Chris Jericho, the fucking wizard. So much love to JAS and Ricky Starks. But this was just a boring promo. 7 minutes. Ricky Starks is up at the on the ramp. JAS is in the ring. And they're just in a 7-minute promo with nothing accomplished. By the end of it, all we got accomplished was a Jake Hager versus Ricky Starks match next week. I mean, that's not going to captivate, and that's why you lost. Not just people were upset that they didn't see Mercedes Moné, but it's JAS and Ricky Starks just didn't do anything to keep people intrigued. So, the result is it was one of the biggest drops of the night. I think it was the biggest drop, actually. Let me go back to Q1, Q2. No, that was 128,000. People were just didn't want to kick off with Mox and Page. So the second biggest drop, I would believe, is that 6 to 7Q. And that was the second biggest drop. Yes, 83,000 viewers. That shows you that people were just like, no Mercedes, no viewership. I'm out. And again, JAS and Ricky Starks just didn't help the matter. By the time you got to Q8, Death Triangle versus the Elite, unfortunately, that ladder match championship, the 7th match out of the best of 7, was only able to garner 14,000 viewers back from what you lost at the beginning of the show. So in other words, from the start of the show to the end, Q1 to Q8, AEW lost 180,000 viewers. Guys, that's a mix between you didn't start off correctly, you didn't give that sink your teeth into it story that people want at the start of a show. You have 2 hours to have wrestling matches. I totally get it. But start the show with a big storyline that people are just like, oh shit, I gotta see what happens throughout the night with this story. I gotta see how it ends in the culminating, what we call cliffhanger. All right, that's going to leave you at the edge of your seat when we fade to black at the end of the night. And you're like, fuck, I don't just want to tune in next week. I have to, because that cliffhanger was amazing. It's like watching a movie, a 2-hour movie. And now you have to see the sequel. Well, the sequel's next week. A lot of times these wrestling shows, they don't start off correctly with anything you need to watch throughout the night. And by the end of the show, there is no cliffhanger. This was the same thing, man. At the end of the night, you just had the Elite win their championship, which we all kind of expected anyway. There was nothing really shocking. It was a 14-minute match, and it was a car wreck. I mean, it was absolutely a circus, man. It was a spot fest. Nobody could sell properly because it was 14 minutes. A ladder match with 6 people, 3 titles on the line. There's no way you could sell properly. You had to just get up and do the next spot, and then you had to get up and do the next, and then it was your time to do a spot. It was not good, man. It was not good at all. And that's why they were only able to get 14,000 back from what they lost. And by Q1 to Q8, you lost 180,000 viewers. And when it's all said and done, when you wonder, if you're Tony Khan and you're wondering, how did we not, in LA, we threw it all against the wall. How did we not get at least 1 million viewers? Well, you don't have to wonder anymore. BC just broke it down. There were several missed opportunities here. And, if these slight changes occur and you flip some things around, you add some of the things that BC are telling you, maybe take out some of the things that are not needed, you literally switch what could be a 40 to 50,000 viewer loss, you switch that into a positive, a 40 to 50,000 viewership increase. And if you do that 2 to 3 times in a show, you could be looking at a $125 to a $150 viewer increase. Okay. So what that means is now you would take the 960, 970,000, whatever it was this week in total viewership, and you would now make that, you would be at about a 1.1. You still wouldn't be cracking the 1.2. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but you would literally be cracking or at least right at that 1.1. And then we have a whole different ball game. Totally different ball game. But they're stuck. They're stuck between 850 and 950-ish thousand viewers, right? Sometimes they leak 960, 970, but they're right around that 850 to 950 every single week. And, you know, it's podcasts like this that are breaking it down, trying to inform them. Like, dude, you're on the right track. I mean, that is a pretty sexy wave that you're seeing. That blue line, that's pretty sexy. It's just not good enough. It's not high enough, the line. But any wrestling show, if you see a wave like that, that's not too bad. You don't want to see the big dips like Q1, Q2, and Q6 to Q7. You don't want to see them that big, but you don't mind the wave. It's a 2-hour show. You're going to have a wave. You know, your 18 to 49 is pretty consistent. That looks to be their niche, is a lot of that 18 to 49. And you even see that, you know, the dips with them too. I mean, there's a little bit of inconsistency, but that blue line, the reason those dips are a little bigger, you know, that's a lot of the casual fans. What CM Punk and a lot of others said no longer exist, that's proving to you they exist. And you know what? To have a successful wrestling show, you can't just rely on your niche guys. I know it sounds good, right? This is a show just for us. It's the alternative. But guys, it won't work that way. Your advertisers will eventually want to see an increase. They'll eventually want to see a little bit of an uptick. You know, they want to do more. And you can't just stay stagnant. So, you know, casual fans are going to have to be a part of your show for you to succeed. And you want them. You want to bring in new eyeballs, right? You want to bring in the casual fan that has the remote in their hand and is undecided on if they should put it down. This is one of those opportunities that was missed. LA, people really thought Mercedes might show up. So even if she doesn't, give them a reason why they have to tune in every segment going forward tonight and every show going forward afterwards, starting next week. You know, give them a reason why, okay, Mercedes didn't show up, but hey, this is the place to be for pro wrestling. And by the end of the night, to see 180,000 people say peace, check you, that's not good. Anyway, I don't want to make everything sound like it's doom and gloom. You know, AEW is going to be just fine, especially with WWE in a little bit of turmoil. Not financially. WWE is about to report record revenue again early February when they do their Q4 press conference or conference calls. They're about to record record revenue yet again for the fourth straight quarter. So financially, they're not hurting. But the company in every other which way is in absolute fucking turmoil. So AEW is just fine. It's just, man, if they can just listen, tweak a few things, you can keep your diehard audience, your target, your niche, and you could bring in more viewers. We really have to focus on larger-than-life characters and storylines, right? Captivating stories, moments, and matches, not just throwing matches out there because Wrestler A and Wrestler B are really good wrestlers and they're going to put on a really good wrestling match and we can call it a banger and we can chant "this is awesome" and think that that's going to equate to ratings because it is clear that's not equating to ratings. It's not. Your niche is just yelling banger after banger after banger. Well, that's good. You're not going to see proper growth. Those are the breakdowns of this past week's Dynamite. Again, big thank you to Brandon Thurston, WrestleNomics, for making this a little bit easier for BC. That is your top to bottom show for the 11th. And this is a big show. LA, they were hoping at least, I bet, for that 1.2 million, man. I didn't think they were going to get that. I did think they would hit at least 1 million. And they put Adam Cole at the beginning of the show to create the buzz on social so people would have to watch. And it worked for Q3. 993, man. They went up 69, 78, 34,000 viewers. So the social media buzz brought everyone back for Q3. It helped out the Firm versus Jungle Hook in Q3. And then, as you could see, there was a 53,000 viewer loss because they're just not interested in Danielson versus MJF right now. There's not enough layers to the story. Hour 2, they started thinking, okay, promoted heavily was the tag team match for the women, so people started to think Mercedes Moné. So Q5 and Q6 saw big, steady 980-ish. And then when they saw no Mercedes, damn, did that thing catapult nearly 100,000. So the Sasha Banks, no Mercedes, man, that really hurt Tony. I knew it was going to bite him in the ass. So we'll see next week, guys. We'll keep you guys informed of all the ratings, man. We'll have the SmackDown ratings for you. We'll go into Monday nights. And when it comes to numbers, statistics, metrics, all the behind the scenes, the good gossip, all the good juice, BC's got you right here, man. You know that. There's no other channel that's going to break it down like this. So I thank you guys, man, for tuning in on this special numbers bonus amplification on a Sunday afternoon, and we'll have a lot more content coming up this upcoming week. For my gold members, please stand up and expect it and accept your flowers, because this is BC's shout out to all my gold members, man, my gold card unit. Right now, let me give you a special shout out. On the way out, BC saying check you. Peace.